So Samurai Jack just finished up its 5th and final season, and considering how awesome this show was when I was a kid, I wanted to talk about it and how everything really wraps up. So I just want to make a pretty clear spoiler warning right here for the whole series. Now you compare this show to any other cartoon of the last 20 or 30 years, and Samurai Jack is, in my mind, one of the most unique shows ever. And I'm not talking about like the characters or the settings or some of the adventures, although those are good. The biggest draw to me was just in the extremely patient pacing. I mean, your average cartoon, especially in the 90s and nowadays, you have all this noise, these flashing lights, stupid jokes, things like that. Samurai Jack didn't need any of that to survive. Samurai Jack didn't need that to thrive. Instead, you have a show in which the characters can go through without barely any dialogue, sometimes almost none at all, and everything is still strangely addicting. I mean, there was one episode I remember from the early seasons where Jack finds a haunted house and tries to go through to find out what's going on, what spirits are haunting it. And I think we go like 15 minutes without anyone saying anything. Everything is conveyed through the images and Jack's expressions. I mean, that is extremely talented work right there, especially for a network show. Seriously, how many other shows can do something like that? And of course, when we do get an action scene, everything is really intense, and I felt really invested. Seriously though, if you have not seen any of Samurai Jack, I really recommend you go and check that out before you watch this review. It's a great episodic show, has a lot of great characters, a lot of great settings, action, a lot of fun storylines. You'll enjoy it. Especially because I can't think of anything that's even remotely like it. It is entirely unique in so many ways. But anyway, on to the actual review of Season 5. So Season 5 changed a lot of things up, not just that it was no longer an episodic series like the first 4 seasons were. This one actually had a constant narrative going episode by episode. Season 5 also took a greater approach to everything. There was actual blood. Jack killed his first human, which was a really big source of stress and trauma for him. We're set 50 years in the future, and he's never once killed a person. It's always just been these robot mercenaries and monsters. And that demonstrates what kind of honor code that Jack had, but I digress. One of the newer developments that I really liked was that we actually saw a real impact to Jack's isolation. 50 years of being on his own, surviving these constant attacks from Aku's minions, and just trying to survive has had a severe impact on his psyche. For the first couple of episodes, we actually see that he has a corrupted conscience, a voice inside that is slowly driving him mad. And that's one of those things that is so hard to do exactly right. I mean, you can have the rambling insanity going off in your head, that's easy enough to set up. But what Jack had was something that was actually questioning his morals. He should give up and kill himself. He shouldn't worry that much if innocents are getting involved. Later on, when he's attacked by the daughters of Aku, and he has a chance to save one of them, the corrupted conscience tells him, don't worry about it, she's an assassin, she was trying to kill you after all, which to most of us is logically sound. But Jack realized that she was an innocent and was corrupted by Aku's influence, and so he had to save her. And he got this great animation. He was always slightly warped, stretched out or squished in or kind of bugged out. It was bizarre, but at the same time, so reflective of, I mean, if I can go English major here, somewhat reflective of the distortions that people can go through on their own, which became somewhat relatable in that degree. I mean, it's so easy for someone to go through a great time of stress and then start questioning their morals or their ethics, or they would do something that they normally wouldn't and then would later on try to come up with some sort of a justification for it. Jack constantly had that warped voice inside of him telling him to just go astray, that it wasn't worth it, that he was just going to die anyway.
Who cares anymore? There's no way home. There's nothing to fight for. There's no more honor. Come to think of it, the only honorable thing to do is quiet. No! I won't spend eternity in this forsaken time! What do you want from me? I want it to end.
Unfortunately, the corrupted conscience doesn't last the whole series, as amusing as it was, but it makes sense. Thematically, Jack had to grow beyond that and get back to his roots. Another big change is the new voice actor for Aku. Now, unfortunately, Mako, brilliant voice actor as he was, unfortunately died back in 2006, and there was really no one who could really replace him vocally. But they came close with a guy named Greg Baldwin.
Samurai fool! Your efforts are in vain again.
That was the old Aku. This is the new Aku.
At first I was really unsure how they were going to take the series. We don't even hear Aku's voice until like the very end of episode 1, and even then it's over a cell phone. So I thought that they were going to do most of the series by kind of tongue-in-cheek having Aku just off screen, or his voice is naturally distorted like you see him on a staticky TV or over a cell phone or something like that. No, what they did is they actually tried to find a guy who sounded so close to Mako that you almost couldn't tell. They almost got it. Greg Baldwin does a phenomenal job coming so close to getting Mako's voice right. Unfortunately, it's still just slightly off, just enough that you can tell that it's not Mako. It's kind of like the audio version of the Uncanny Valley, if that's a thing. But I'm not here to complain about the guy. I mean, I really liked the job he did. He sounded so close to Mako that if after a while, once you got used to it, you kind of stopped hearing the difference. It's like watching subtitles in a foreign film. After a while, you stop noticing that you're doing it. Now, by and large, Baldwin's performance worked. It was close enough that you could still have a lot of fun with it. The only problem is in the final episode, in which, very cleverly, I think, or at least in theory, was they repeated the original theme song as Jack is broadcasting something over a TV, just giving a summary of Samurai Jack's approach to everything, just before Aku reveals that he's captured Jack. And the reason that doesn't really work for me was because we get to hear Mako's original voice in his performance, as glorious as that was. And then we hear Baldwin come in and give a small monologue to his audience. And just the immediate contrast, because by that point I had gotten used to Baldwin's voice. But then just getting that flashback to Mako and then getting Baldwin's voice just after that, you could immediately see the contrast. It was a clever idea. I wish it had worked a little better, but obviously circumstances beyond their control, so I'm not going to fault them too heavily for it. And of course, we couldn't have season 5 without hands down the second most popular character from the original show, just after Jack, the Scotsman. Now, the Scotsman was voiced by John DiMaggio, and oh my god, he did a great job with this. Now, the Scotsman was always meant as something of a comedy relief character, but was still a bit of a badass. I mean, he kept up in a sword fight against Samurai Jack when they first met. Not to mention, he got some of the best lines in the whole show.
We are in no condition to fight these odds.
Especially not with a pajama-wearing daisy strapped to my wrist.
Unfortunately, I'm not crazy about what they did with him in the finale. In the original fight against Samurai Jack, the Scotsman reveals that he has magic runes on his claymore, which is why it doesn't break in battle. Well, when we see the Scotsman again, he's a very old man, bound in a wheelchair, surrounded by a small army of his. And he ends up getting killed by Aku, which would be tragic if they didn't immediately raise him as a ghost, and then his explanation for this was, oh, you know, the magic runes on my sword? Well, they can do this too! And that felt like the writers are just pulling that out of their asses. I mean, I'm not trying to bash the writers. They did a lot of things right in this season, but that's not the way I would have gone with the Scotsman. Now, obviously, you would have to include him. People would be rioting if they didn't. But the way they wrote the Scotsman, he was basically inconsequential. It was just kind of an afterthought. Like, hey, you know what we should do? We should put this guy back in. He didn't really do anything in the plot until like the last episode, and even then, he was just another face in the crowd. See, there are two ways that I would have gone about this. One, either change the time it's been since Jack has been stuck in the future. Take it from 50 years down to 30 years, say. Long enough that Jack would still be going slightly crazy, but not so long that the Scotsman couldn't still be in some degree of fighting shape. Or two, and this is the one I'm really leaning towards, you have just the one daughter instead of like the army of 50 or 100 daughters, however many that was. Just have the one daughter taking up her father's mantle. with the sword and a couple of guns and things like that. She charges into a hidden laboratory somewhere in the middle of the desert or wherever. Beats up several of the guards, fights through to a central chamber where she sees her father, maybe some sort of an incubation tube or cryogenic stasis or something like that. Frees him, hands over the sword, and the two of them decide, okay, this has been going on long enough, it's time for us to build up an army and stop a coup. And then you just have the two of them head off to regroup, gather an army, and then try to make a real stance against a coup. So then in the final episode, when they finally show up, you've got the Scotsman and his daughter fighting against inside of a coup's fortress to free Jack. I mean, they would definitely be the elite soldiers in this otherwise impromptu resistance army that builds up by chance in the last episode. And something like that would have been a little better to believe, would have been a little more respectful to the original character, I think, and would have given him slightly more impact in the final plot. It wouldn't have been a tremendous thing. It's not like, oh, we can only get the MacGuffin if the Scotsman were here. But, I mean, there's only so much you can really do with only, 10 episodes, I think it was? The next thing I wanted to talk about would be the pairing of Jack and Ashi, the assassin, or as the internet has started calling them, Joshi. At first, I really was not in favor of this particular pairing because I saw this as just a cliched attempt to get Jack a girlfriend because why not? I'm really not a fan of forced romance like that just because it's easier or it's fun or you want the character to be happy or whatever. But they really changed my mind as the series went on. Ashi went from being this cold-blooded killer to being really sympathetic and actually kind of cute. And there's actually a bit of strange chemistry between the two characters, considering Jack's withdrawn nature and Ashi's initially very grim view of everything. However, as Ashi became more aware of the world and realized that Aku was actually the bad guy the whole time, she became a little more sympathetic. One thing that really changed my mind about her character was her moral code and how the writers thought the whole thing through. You see, Ashi never actually changes her moral code from when she was an assassin working for Aku to when she just became a badass trying to help Jack. Ashi would not have been able to go and completely warp her moral code overnight just because Samurai Jack was nice to a ladybug. No, it was actually the degree of fanaticism that her mother raised her that Ashi was able to really perceive the world in a new light once she actually got outside of the grim, whatever hellhole she was raised in. She was given this intense moral conditioning in that the samurai is absolutely evil because he keeps destroying the world. Aku is trying to make everything pretty and nice and all that stuff. So she's given the idea that pretty is good and destruction is bad. And that right there is pretty much the foundation. It's a simplistic view of, I admit, but it is the foundation of her moral code. She is given a strong understanding of right and wrong, and she's lied to as far as the details after that. Aku is the good guy, Jack is the bad guy, Jack is ruining the world, all the bad things in the world happen because of Jack and all that stuff. And it was really clever of them to try to set it up like that because now we can see that once she's exposed to the truth in a few cases, which is an entire episode is dedicated to that, she's able to realize her entire upbringing was a lie. And she made a really fun companion for Jack, someone who was actually able to fight on his level and in some ways was better. I'd say that as far as the stealth and parkour elements, she was actually Jack's superior. But actually being able to have someone that Jack could continuously rely on was a nice change of pace. The Scotsman is still my second favorite character, but we never got to see him actually fighting alongside Jack episode after episode after episode, like continuously. Seeing that with Ashi was refreshing, it was fun, she was a cool character, and she took on an entire army of orcs all by herself. How cool is that? So when these two do inevitably wind up together by that point, I'm actually kind of convinced this is a good pairing. Let them have fun. It didn't really try to force the companionship on us, as obvious as it was from the get-go, and instead let it develop naturally, which I thought was really important. I mean, especially for a guy who's so tired of romance subplots. And of course, that That whole thing of Jack finally being able to settle down and be happy was what made the final episode so tragic. So the final episode comes around, and a buddy of mine put it best when he says, "I don't know how to feel about this." And really, I can sympathize. I'm not sure how to feel about it myself. On one hand, this is a solid ending to the series, where Jack finally gets everything that he's been fighting for. But on the other hand, a lot of it, there was a lot of build up to this, and I felt like they could have done more. I mean, just starting out, Aku broadcasting that he had Jack in custody and was about to kill him was such a stupid thing to do. I mean, half this season was pretty much about how much of an impact Jack has had on the lives of everyone he's saved. So for Aku to go and broadcast that he was about to kill their hero was just asking for an instant resistance army. Now, I mean, I liked that he was able to corrupt Ashi at the last minute and make Jack fight her. That was really solid. That's an enemy that Jack wasn't able to really combat. I mean, he had no way to attack her without effectively killing her. So he was driven into a corner, and that's an effective weapon. On the other hand, I kind of like these big dramatic final battles where everything comes together and everything has a purpose. A lot of that impacted by the fact I'm going through the final book in Percy Jackson right now as I record this. But it's not just that. It's the Lord of the Rings did this well. Harry Potter did this really well. Things like that are a lot of fun for me. This is the culmination of everything the series is built up to. I want this gigantic scene where everything gets tied together in the very end and everything has an impact, and it's just this big, glorious piece of art. And I felt like a lot of the right elements were there, but they just weren't tied together as effectively as they could have been. The writer's strength in the season here and the previous 4 seasons was really in how each episode was written. Having the episodic series, I think, was not their strong suit. Again, that's not to say it was bad. However, it didn't rise up to the expectations I had considering the past material. One other element of that, though, was a plot thread hanging from the previous seasons that never really got addressed. I mean, it was sort of addressed, but not really. And that's in what happened to the Guardian, the blue Morpheus guy, who indicated that Jack was going to eventually go through the time portal that he watched over. The most we really see of that are a pair of glasses, red-tinted glasses that the Guardian wore, kind of laying on the ground broken. And I was hoping so much that we would see something of him. Like that was like the one last actual time portal that Jack would be able to use to get back to the past. And I don't know what happened to him. And that annoys me. I was so looking forward to seeing something with him involved, and all we really get are broken glasses and speculation. I mean, is he dead? Is he alive? Did Aku get to him? Did Jack ever go back? So eventually, Jack gets through to Ashi by admitting that he loves her, and Ashi is able to regain control of her body and realizes that she has all of Aku's power, including the ability to travel through time. So in the midst of this big dramatic battle, the two of them disappear into the past and actually manage to kill Aku just after Jack is originally ported forward, so we don't have a paradox there. Jack slays Aku right there, and his castle, I guess it is, blows up. But we do have a time paradox in that they've gone back so far that Ashi, by all accounts, should not exist. And unfortunately, that's the direction the show goes. And she disappears on her and Jack's wedding night, and it's like, God damn it, he was going to be happy. He earned this.
All these years, I have seen so many innocents fall victim to Aku. Kind and decent people, my friends, my family, every one of them. His evil has taken everything I've ever loved. All I have left are memories. do not want you to become just a memory.
And Aku just had to take one more thing from him. After everything that Jack has done, Aku somehow gets the last blow in. That is not fair. I mean, I like any story that gets me emotionally invested like that, even if it's angry. I loved The Circle for exactly that reason, and the ending drove me crazy. But for Jack to be robbed of this, after everything he's gone through, more than 50 years of combat, who knows how much time training before he went to fight Aku the first time, his entire life spent doing this. And he just gets the rug pulled out from underneath him at the last second. That's bullshit. The other aspect of this, and this is not as important as losing Ashi, but the other impact of this is that all of his contributions to saving all of those people in the future now no longer happens. And in some ways that's good, because now no one ever has to go through the terror of living under Aku's reign. But on the other hand, it's kind of a bittersweet moment, at least as far as I see it, because now he doesn't have that impact on all those people's lives. Ultimately, though, I gotta say that I still did really like season 5 of the show. It did give us an ending, not exactly the ending I would have gone for, but hey, it's not my story to tell. It's still really good. I would still say it's definitely worth checking out, although hopefully at this point you've already seen it and you're not just watching this for the first time and I've just spoiled the entire show for you. Otherwise, if you're going to check it out, I definitely say either watch it on adultswim.com or buy the DVD when it comes out, and don't stream it on YouTube or a torrent site or anything like that, because if Cartoon Network gets the idea that bringing back an old show like this will work and they will make a profit from it, then they will try to do it with other shows. And the reason I bring that up is because I have seen some postings of something called The Galactic Kids Next Door. And quite frankly, seeing that show come back would be amazing. One of the most creative shows Cartoon Network has ever put out. I want to see their story end. I want to see that to completion. Not necessarily as gritty as what Samurai Jack did, of course. I don't want to see the kids murdering each other, but that would be so cool to wrap up, wouldn't it? So those are my thoughts. Hopefully you guys enjoyed my inane rambling. If you like this, I might try to do more of it in the future, either with different shows that I'm watching or something, maybe just life in general. Either way, let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you guys next time.